Okay. Oh, that's on. Thank you. So I'm Jody Balma, your moderator for the evening. I ask that all audience members turn electronic devices off or silence. All candidates also need to put their electronic devices away. I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the League of Women Voters of North Orange County to the Candidate Forum for the Placentia City Council. The League of Women Voters is a trusted, nonpartisan political organization that's been active for over 100 years. And while we never endorse a candidate or party, we are directly involved in shaping the important issues to keep our community strong. And as a League member, I have the opportunity to contribute in ways that have a great impact on local, state, and even national issues. If you're interested in learning more about how you can make a similar impact by joining us, I encourage you to pick up a League of Women Voters information tonight. Membership is open to everyone, not just women. An event like this would not be possible without an entire team of people behind the scenes, and I want to thank everyone from Voter Services team of volunteers who made this possible, including my team for tonight. We have Marcy Fry, who will be running cards for you to write the questions. All of the questions that are asked tonight come from you, the audience. We have no prepared questions, and obviously the candidates have not seen them beforehand. Our question sorters are Jim and Karen Hill and Betty Hammond. They will be condensing questions and combining questions when we have lots of questions that are asking the same things. They are not writing their own questions, and we are not censoring questions. We're trying to prioritize questions that are asked the most often or the most relevant for the Placentia City Council, and so we'll do that. To keep us all on time, we have our timekeepers, Chris Weiser and Ed Smith, who are in the front row, and they have our paddles. For the opening statements, part one, each of the candidates will give a 2-minute opening statement, and so the only time you'll see the 1-minute sign is during the opening statements. Those time cards will stay up until they are replaced with the 30-second time mark and then eventually the stop. When you see the red stop sign, please finish your sentence, but not a paragraph. And if I need to remind you that the stop sign is up, I will, and I'm sure we won't have any problems with that. So, the purpose of forums like this is to provide nonpartisan political information that encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in their government and introduces them to the people behind the names on their ballot. Our goal for tonight is to allow each candidate to communicate their platform and vision for representing the Placentia City Council and allow the community to ask questions, which they've submitted here, all while maintaining civil discourse. Before the event, we had the candidates draw slots for the order of answering, and we'll rotate that order throughout. I want to thank everyone in the audience and those listening on. Yes. Okay, thank you. So if you can take a seat next to Jeremy. Our 5th candidate has arrived. And so we'll go in rotating order. I want to thank everyone in the audience watching here, live streamed and YouTube channel, and on a later date for participating in democracy by being informed. I want to especially thank the candidates for the time that they spend running for office. I think it's important to remember that these candidates are our neighbors and our friends who are volunteering to put themselves into the public sphere where they are sometimes criticized, shockingly enough, in the public sphere, and they understand that and run anyway. I want to thank the friends and family of the candidates who support them through the busy campaign season, forums like this, other events that they're trying to do their job, and then once elected, do their job to the best of their ability. It's far too easy to demonize our opponents instead of celebrating differences through civil discourse. So, the final reminders for tonight. Yes. Oh, let's try that out. Can you put them up? Good. Okay. Thank you. Good test run. The California Fair Practices, Political Practices Commission regulation states that candidate forums cannot be edited in any way and must be shown in their entirety. No problem with what is being recorded here, that will happen, but if you happen to be recording for a candidate, understand that they cannot be edited in any way and need to be shown in the entirety. So, last reminder, please hold your applause will applaud everyone at the end. It will take up time and is not fair. So I will hold you to that. So candidates, as we've discussed, you'll each have 2 minutes for an opening statement, then we'll take questions from the audience, and finally, we'll have the closing statements at the end. So, Ward Smith, your opening statement, please.
Very good. Thank you very much. Good evening to all, and thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedules tonight to come and have an opportunity to both hear and look at the folks of your community that are willing to put forth efforts to run and represent you in both your day-to-day business here or the businesses that you operate, and help you in any way that each of us up here possibly can. I'm completing my second term as a council member, looking to be given the opportunity through your support to continue to work in this office for my third and final term. This is, of course, due to term limits that the city has under policy. The past 8 years, I have been very fortunate to work as a part of a fantastic team of elected council members that have accomplished much and brought the overall condition of the city of Placentia to a new, much stronger position on several fronts. Fiscally, service level wise, infrastructure improvements, and bringing in both great partnerships in business and a broad spectrum of development opportunities. I have served the community not only in the capacity of an elected official, but also throughout my professional career with some 34 plus years in the public safety arena through the Placentia Police Department, where I spent many a year working night watch on the streets and enjoyed every bit of it, and ending my career as the department's chief of police in 2016. Some of the significant accomplishments that, and I say this kind of tongue-in-cheek, when I say I take credit for them and they're my accomplishments, they're really a joint venture of the 5 of us that represent the council at any given point in time. I established and funded a Section 115 trust to pay down our pension and OPEB debt, developed partnerships with community organizations to address specifically the homelessness issues and matters here in our community, constructed a new public safety facility to enhance our efforts alongside our first responders to keep our crime rates low, created our own. Thank you.
Tom Hummer, your opening statement.
I'm Tom.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't explain. You'll need to turn the microphones on.
It's on. It's on.
Okay.
On already, right? I just
That
have
is
to
now
get
on.
closer to it
Okay.
or speak louder. I do consider myself a Placentia native, although I moved here when I was about 6 or 7 years old. Went to Brookhaven, Tuffrey, El Dorado graduate, lived here into my 20s, and, you know, life happens and you move away for a bit. But I've always considered this my home because my parents have had a home here for over 50-something years. So I've since moved back right in 2020, in the very beginning, a month before the shutdown. Anyway, I am an educator. I've worked in education since 2005. The last 12 to 13 years, I've been working in county jails, teaching anything from GED to anger management, cognitive thinking skills, and high school diploma. This last year, I moved out of the jails and I'm in community working with at-risk youth and adults. Okay. I have seen Placentia throughout my life grow, right? Seen it go from orange groves to a thriving city. And my goal as a District 1 city council member would be to advocate for our strong public safety, see and help our small businesses continue to grow and thrive, and in particular in District 1, maintain that old town feel and keep those businesses moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Colson Teal.
Got to remember to hit the button. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Colson Hauk Teal. I see a lot of friendly faces in the audience, and so to everyone who came out, I want to say thank you. It means a lot to me. I'm currently a political science major at Cal State Fullerton. I'm also a Placentia native, born and raised. I've been here for all whopping 20 years of my life, and I can really say there's no place like home. Recently, I got a chance to spend a couple months out in Washington, D.C. as part of a D.C. Scholar semester. I thought that one day I'd move away, that home is just where you start out. But while I was over there, I realized that there's really no place like where we are here. It's the most magical place in the world, and my friends, one of whom I see in the audience, he reminded me of that the other day. And so I wanted to come back and do something to help serve my community. So I decided to run for office when I started to look into the issues of the city. I have a lot of things on the agenda that I'd like to get done. We've got a great start, but I want to make sure things keep going well. I want to make sure we can prevent a financial disaster. We're in pretty rough shape. This year's a deficit, and we're spending in our reserves. It's caused a lot of concern. Furthermore, right now our emergency services aren't properly supported. This causes a lot of issues and creates just not a great environment. And finally, I'd like to get a hold of our crumbling infrastructure. There's a lot of spending that needs to be reined in, that needs to be focused towards what we need. I mean, heck, on the way here, there was about a dinner-sized plate piece of asphalt that I thought popped my car tire. I want to keep Placentia the community that I was born in, the one I fell in love with, and I want to stay here for the rest of my life, serving you, the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy Yamaguchi.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I am Jeremy Yamaguchi. Honored to be here tonight, and want to again thank the League of Women Voters and all the volunteers who helped put this together. I've lived in Placentia all my life, now over 35 years. Proud to call this home and watch the community grow. I was raised to give back to the community more than the community gives to you. So this is how I've continued to give my service. But over the years, I've had the privilege to serve as a student volunteer in the city, as well as an Eagle Scout, city committee member, even the team leader, CERT team graduate. But I'm most proud of being able to serve the community as mayor and council member here at the city of Placentia. During my time in office, we've seen some significant improvements in our city, from revitalizing our old town to improving public safety, public infrastructure. We've worked tirelessly to make Placentia a better place for everyone to live and work. From repaving roads, revitalizing parks for our kids, investing in our future is my, and it should be our, top priority. Worked closely with local businesses as well as outside businesses to bring investment and new businesses to our community to increase jobs and economic opportunities. One of my proudest accomplishments as mayor was actually implementing the Placentia Veterans Village. And for those who don't know, that's a housing project located in our southeast corner that provides affordable housing for our veterans. This project not only helps those who served our country, but also enhances the fabric of our community. I'm honored to be endorsed by a number of people, including all of my colleagues on the city council, both our Congresswomen, Young Kim, Michelle Steele, as well as all of our labor groups, the Placentia Police Officers Association, Placentia Police Management Association, and our Firefighters Association. And again, I'm committed to ensuring that Placentia remains a safe and welcoming community for all of its residents. I've worked closely with a number of groups. As staff, I ask for your vote tonight to re-elect me, Jeremy Yamaguchi, to District 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Joshua Correa.
Hello, my name is Joshua Correa, and I'm a longtime Placentia resident. I'm running for District 1. Thomas Hummer is my opponent, and first off, I just want to say that I'm very glad that I'm running against someone who I think highly of. Thomas Hummer is endorsed by Kevin Kerwin, and I believe that Kevin's a man of integrity. And Thomas, in the little time that I've spoken with him, is someone who seems like he cares about Placentia. Given that, I'm a minister in Well of Life Church, and I've been serving here since returning back in, I left in 1999 to go to college in New York. And when I returned in 2013, I've been consistently working towards the good and the benefit of our community. I was thrust into a situation concerning the digital billboards, where I was trying to bring clarity to that program. And since then, I have sworn that I'm not here to fight the city. I'm here to work and build with the city. And so I've continued that commitment in my work with the Navigation Center as one of the I've served on the navigation board for the committee oversight and selecting the provider. And I've been working with Lot 318, tutoring, as well as working with the city for street signs and speed bumps. So I just want to continue the service that I've been doing for the past 10 years plus. Thank you.
Thank you. So part 2 are the questions that you've submitted, and we'll start with Tom Hummer answering the first question. Everyone will have a chance to answer, and 1 minute for each. So the first question is, how do you think Placentia is doing with public safety?
I think Placentia has done a very good job with public safety. I think the relationship with the city and the city police force and the fire department are doing very well. I will speak on the fire department end. As far as that goes, people talk about, being disappointed that, we let OC Fire, or got rid of OC Fire, if you want to call it that. The response times when it was OC Fire was, 5-6 minutes. I've got a personal thing. My father had a heart attack. If it was OC Fire, he probably wouldn't be here. But today he is, or he was till a few months ago. But anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Colson Teal. How do you think Placentia is doing with public safety?
I think right now Placentia is doing really well with public safety. I want to commend all of our officers and all of our firefighters for keeping us safe. You guys do a fantastic job, but they're doing it with limited support, and I think that really needs to change. Currently, the environment for both our police and our firefighters, it's not good. They're not supported from the top down. Their administration is actively hostile to a lot of their goals, with some, in my opinion, very foolish implementations, many of which are causing both delays and potential risks going forward. We're losing people because we have a toxic work environment for our heroes, quite frankly. That needs to change. We need to see new direction, which is what I want to bring to the city council. I want them to be excited to come to work every day, not fearing the challenges that the administration is going to thrust in their way as they're trying to help and save you, the citizens, because they love this community, and I want to see us love them back. Thank you.
Jeremy Yamaguchi.
Thank you very much. I'm very proud of our public safety, police, fire, our dispatch, and everyone who's a first responder in the community. That being said, there's always room for improvement, not in individuals, but maybe in the structure, the model, and the way that the service is delivered. There were a lot of changes that came along with the fire department switching over that I didn't agree with at the time. But we have seen response times reduced. We've seen the deployment model change and shift and kind of respond to the needs of the community. That being said, I think we need to continue to invest in our people. We need to continue to invest in our equipment, and we need to continue to improve our models as we move forward. As the world changes, the model and the response needs to change as well. So I think constantly reviewing our deployment and staffing and apparatus community-wide should be something that we review on a regular basis. So I appreciate the time that was spent, but continuing to improve.
Thank you.
Moving forward.
Joshua Correa.
As a graduate of the police academy over in Ohio, I have much respect for the police and fire and for what they do, and I'm glad that we were able to bring in-house the fire department. And I'm also I'm hopeful that in the future, as we invest in our police, and as we build our reserves, that one day we'd be able to partner with Yorba Linda. We do about 3 times as much service as they do, and they contract out, and they've had problems because of that. But because of the financial situation that we have been in as a city, that is not an opportunity for us to save to reap the cost savings of that relationship. If we did better at training, if we did better at being a hub where we were a standard, then Yorba Linda might be open to that type of relationship in the future.
Thank you. Wordsmith.
Thank you. Goes without saying from my background that I fully support and believe in the job done by our public safety first responder personnel, both sides of the fence, both police and fire. It's without a doubt that the shift that took us from the county fire authority to our own department, as it was back in the 60s and 70s, was a smart move for us. It was cost effective. It saved money for an agency or an organization here that didn't have deep pockets and the financial wherewithal to make that happen. I believe we, as Jeremy has said, we need to constantly evaluate and look at it, whether it's equipment, whether it's personnel, staffing, and deployments on both sides of those fences. We need to be open and mindful of what that looks like and do so. Thank you.
Thank you. The second question, we'll start with Colson Teal. Do you think city infrastructure, roads, buildings, parks, bridges are in good, fair, or poor condition? How can they be improved? So first, rank, and second, how could they be improved?
Well, I think rank goes without question. If anyone's driven down Kramer, they know that our roads are in abysmal shape, if that was an option below poor. I know there's been movements to fix them and fix infrastructure, but really when I started going through them and I started going through the trajectory of where we're going, we're spending a lot of projects that are very frivolous. We're not putting it towards our roads. We're not putting it towards the infrastructure where it matters. And instead of hitting two birds with one stone, we're throwing two stones at one bird sometimes. We're spending a lot of money wastefully. Our roads can use a lot of attention. Our infrastructure can use attention in the proper timeline. Those wayfinding signs are nice, but they cost a pretty penny and they took direction away from other places where they should go. The wayfinding signs are like slapping a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. Our roads should be fixed first. Our emergency services should be fixed first. Anything after these beautifying projects, they should be done second. And I know from the last council meeting where we had a petition of 50 people who felt their roads were in less than abysmal shape would agree.
Thank you. Jeremy Yamaguchi. It's a compound question, so I'm going to repeat it for everyone. Do you think city infrastructure, roads, buildings, parks, and bridges are in good, fair, or poor condition? And how can they be improved?
Thank you very much. We have a facilities condition index that was completed last year. It's a very comprehensive report. I think it's about a 4-inch binder that basically says our infrastructure is in poor condition. And that's not just roads. That looks at every asset the city owns in property, parks, lighting equipment, street lights, you name it. And it's been something that we've long neglected. When the city was nearing bankruptcy back in the early 2000s, the cost savings we were seeing was delaying infrastructure investment. So we've been fortunate enough in the last 8 years to really turn that around by investing wisely in our infrastructure and our roads, but there continues to be a need to prioritize investing in our infrastructure, not only to preserve what we have, but to reinvest into new infrastructure as well. So the roads are kind of just the most visible part because that's something everyone sees every day. Street signs were really a public safety thing, and I want to bring that up because we had police officers driving around the city at night not knowing what the streets are. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joshua Cray. Do you think city infrastructure, roads, buildings, parks, and bridges are in good, fair, or poor condition? And how can they be improved?
Well, first off, they are in the process of being improved. They were rated as second worst, I think Fullerton being worst, during my time on serving on the Citizens Fiscal Task Force. And since that time, Measure M has put a lot of funding towards those improvements. However, we have a long way to go, and we've been digging ourselves out a hole for a while. I do have to agree concerning the spending that it's good to attract businesses with new added signs and just overall look and feel, but we can't attract businesses at the expense and the cost of our current residents. So we need to be mindful of what type of businesses we're attracting. And the Herald, we sold the property to the Herald for, I'll stop there.
Thank you. Ward Smith. Do you think the city infrastructure, roads, buildings, parks, and bridges are in good, fair, or poor condition? And how can they be improved?
Thank you. As you break it down that way, you've touched on each and every aspect of the city that is in poor, moving towards fair condition. As stated previously, we went decades without addressing those things, whether it was our roadway surfaces, whether it was the physical buildings beyond City Hall, those buildings that are used by our public routinely, the Bax Building, the Senior Center there at Center and Bradford, all of our facilities were lacking and needed to be upgraded. Parks were horrible as well, too. We walked our parks, we surveyed our parks, literally leaned against a wooden sign in the park, the sign broke off, fell over. Imagine if that had landed on a small child. The fact of the matter is people look at Measure U and they look at the streets as the most critical issues. They are critical, but these projects all are serviced by a multitude of different funding sources. So there's nothing wrong with us spreading the wealth around in the city and addressing a number of projects at the same time, but it is certain that we need to address them from time to time, reprioritize.
Tom Hummer. Do you think city infrastructure, roads, buildings, parks, and bridges are in good, fair, or poor condition, and how can they be improved?
Well, I do feel that this question is pretty good for me because I did go through the Citizens Academy and I got a really good look at what the city does on the inside, if you will, from their perspective. Measure U, 50%, that is 50% of all those funds are supposed to be going towards infrastructure like roads and the such, right? So I think we're doing a pretty good job as a city goes of doing that. We're not there yet, but we are able to do some of the other things too with parks and redoing those. And I'm seeing that my own eyes. I'm sure some of you are. And I don't know about you, but Kramer is very smooth now. So driving down that road. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question, we'll start with Jeremy Yamaguchi. I have brought up, obviously this is not me, this is the person who wrote up the question. I have brought up consequential items before council and my own city council member never contacted me. What is your plan, if elected, for communication with constituents?
Having districts is kind of a double-edged sword. It kind of allows the council members to focus on individual areas, but at the same time, it kind of distracts from focusing in the community as a whole. But I think having been through the districting for a number of years now, I think the council members that are in that district should be the responsible ones to be the first point of contact. A lot of times as mayor, if the district isn't, if the district council member isn't responsive, it'll come to the mayor. But one of the things that I've done is I've established office hours here in City Hall. Those availabilities are posted online, so it's kind of an open door. You don't even have to have a appointment to come in. But I think that's one thing. My cell phone number, email address, all that information is posted online, so people can text, they can Facebook, Instagram message me, all that stuff. So I would encourage moving forward that all council members have an open door policy.
Thank you. Joshua Correa. What is your plan, if elected, for communications with constituents?
So I believe in districting. It's a big issue for me. I believe that before it was mandated that we had to go to districts, we actually voted on it, and 60% of residents here in Placentia felt like we needed districts. And since that time, I had been working on trying to get the type of districts that would represent the community fairly. And thankfully, we've finally arrived at that after much grief. We've had over 3 different district lines in the span of a very short time. And I am nothing but in for my district and community. And that is not to say that I'm not in for all of Placentia, because I think unity is a big thing, and we need to be working together if we want to see real change.
Wordsmith.
As was explained, we have districts, but I always say this, that we're still a city at large. If something's going on in a neighboring district and somebody reaches out and needs help, not only do we turn perhaps and share it with the individual that's responsible for that district, but we work together and bring that forth, bring it to staff, but make myself readily accessible, available to folks. And you know, I have strongly encouraged staff to get back and be responsive to the individuals in the community. And we have some new staff on board now, some new directors that are very, very good at picking up the torch and running with things. But I do believe each one of us should be readily available, accessible, and communicate with our folks.
Thank you. Tom Hummer.
I agree with Jeremy that you know, on the main focus is having a point of connection, right? If somebody in your district, I think that works best if somebody knows that district and they're working with it. I live within that district. We're supposed to live in our districts now. So I know what's going on in my area, and I know there's difficulties and there's housing issues and whatnot, and everyone has problems in their area, but I want to be able to work with the rest of the city too. If I'm elected, I will work with everyone, but I will be that point of contact in my district.
Thank you. Colson Teal.
This is a question I've been grappling with recently because I think from what I've gotten from the constituents in my district, it's pretty hard to reach the council member for District 5. I've already been getting calls, I've already been getting emails and texts and meeting with people because they feel like their voices aren't getting heard. I'm already hearing city issues and bringing them forward through the appropriate routes. And to help with this, I actually changed my card midway through my campaign. That's a campaign material. It now shows my phone number so that people can reach me directly. And I tell them, you can reach me at any time as long as I'm not sleeping. And if I am, I'm gonna reach back out to you. So I definitely feel like with districts, the city council member is the representative of that area. They're the voice in the larger picture. When somebody reaches out to me, I'm able to walk over to their area. I'm able to adjust where I do my runs, and I can see it with my own eyes. When people are running red stop signs, I can be there watching it. When people are complaining about parking in my district, I know what they're talking about. And so I always want to make sure, and I always am, available for anyone who needs to reach out to me.
Thank you. The next question will start with Joshua Correa. How would you balance the budget so revenue and expenditures balance out? And a follow-up question. Would you support balancing the budget with cash reserves?
Balancing the budget with cash reserves. Well, first off, any reserves that we have are new reserves because we haven't had reserves for that long. I would support first trying to store up those reserves. Concerning balancing the budget with cash reserves, obviously that would not be ideal. I'd want to be looking for alternative revenue to come in to balance the budget. And I think that just looking at sales tax and fees and is not going to be sustainable long-term, and we need to look elsewhere for increased revenue.
Thank you. Wordsmith?
Yeah, the balancing of the budget and the tapping into reserves falls into kind of two separate categories in the sense that we need to be on top of where we are throughout our budget year and our budget cycle. We rely on our finance department to be able to provide us information where we can reel back on some things, pull back, maybe hold back on projects or programs if need be. This past fiscal year, the budget shortfall was the result of a turn in the business community here. We lost some substantial cornerstone businesses here that provided great revenues to our coffers, and we're there, and we worked aggressively as soon as they were gone to jump on and try to fill those spots and make something happen. We work with our business community because we realize that in large part, sales tax revenue is a cornerstone for us. So occasionally it will happen, but we should stay ahead of the curve on it.
Tom Hummer.
Fiscal sustainability in a city is very important. And, you know, as they've said on the council here, the budget has had a shortfall there recently, but I think that if we do bring in more businesses and go that direction where we can get more money from those taxes, and we can build those and fill those coffers, you know, rebuild up the budget, and we'll be able to do more with that. Thank you.
Colson Teal.
I think the answer to this question is pretty clear. It's not that we need to have more businesses, we need to make more money. We need to stop spending money at the rate we are now. We have everyone in our city government saying they're fiscally responsible, that that's what they believe in. Yet we're in a budget year and we're using reserves and we're continuously spending money we don't really have. We need to cut back on these pet projects. The wayfinding signs look great. They cost a lot of money. In a deficit year, that's something we could have put towards other more necessary projects or put towards our reserves. Furthermore, I know there's a $22 million, or it's about $20.6 million project that could have been an $8 million project. It's that kind of spending that's destroying our city budget and is the reason we're in a deficit. We're not some grand economic powerhouse. Only a small percentage of our revenue comes from taxes. What money we make, we need to spend responsibly, not blow whenever we have the first chance. Thank you.
Jeremy Yamaguchi.
Thank you very much. Getting an answer for this in 60 seconds is no easy task, but I want to make two key determinations, and that's a structurally balanced, you know, as the improvement budget versus the operating budget. Operating budgets, I believe, need to be balanced 100% of the time. If you're spending more than you're bringing in, then you have an issue. We do at home in our checking accounts. We should have an issue here at City Hall. The reserves I would see using only for one-time expenditures. If we're investing in property, if we're investing in infrastructure, but not for ongoing costs because we don't have ongoing revenues. Again, the wayfinding investment is still a public safety thing when it comes down to it. If you have firefighters responding from Anaheim or Yorba Linda, they don't know the streets off the top of their heads. They couldn't read the signs in the dark because the lights were out. They weren't reflective. They're from the 90s. But again, there's still going to be room for efficiency, effectiveness, looking at automations and technology use to empower our staff for going back to doing more with less, but being more effective with the staff that we do have.
The next question will start with Ward Smith. I have a number of questions about campaign donations, so I'm splitting them into two. The first question is, should candidates accept contributions from individuals and businesses outside of the city?
Yes, I mean, they can accept that if they are perhaps prior residents or have prior interests or businesses here. Now that they're outside the city, they may have an interest in coming here or doing something, or they may just simply like the fact that we do things different than where they're at, and they support the candidates that are making that happen.
Thank you. Tom Hummer. Absolutely. Should candidates accept contributions from individuals and businesses outside of the city?
I don't necessarily see that as a major red flag. If too much of it, yes, but if it's like Ward said, somebody that, you know, has been here, or maybe has businesses here, but they're somewhere else and they want to just help the city continue to grow, I don't see a problem with that.
Thank you. Colson Teal.
Yes, I believe candidates should be able to accept, and it is okay for them to accept donations from outside of the city. I know in my case with Cal State Fullerton, I've accepted donations from teachers and with people I've worked with in Washington, D.C., who want to keep track of my life and who believe in the things that I'm trying to do for my community. They looked at my campaigns, they saw it when I put it out on social media, and they said, we believe in this kid. He wants to make good change, he wants to help his community, and that's a thing everyone, no matter where they're from, can get behind. So absolutely, I think people should be able to take contributions from outside the city.
Chairman Yamaguchi.
Thank you very much. Yeah, when it comes to candidates accepting contributions from businesses and people outside the city, I think it comes down to a transparency thing. If any of you have seen the memes of congressmen wearing jackets like NASCAR drivers, where they have the patches of all the donors that they've had, everyone can see where every dollar comes for our campaigns. So if there's a vote up here that we shouldn't be involved with, the people should call them out, and they have. They've called them out in the past for people voting up here. If we don't allow money to come from outside sources, it'll get hidden. And that's why we have these sunshine laws that require transparency. If we prohibit someone from outside the city contributing, they'll funnel it through a legal way of somebody in the city to get to the same place. But then we no longer have transparency because the funds are being funneled, they're being quasi, tunneled around, so we can't track it. So I'd rather be able to see who's getting money from where, rather than hiding it and making it illegal. Thank you.
Thank you. Joshua Correa.
Yes, so I agree with Jeremy, and transparency is key. And also, there's so much money that is going around in projects, and we really need to know who is funding, supporting who. And so as long as folks are being transparent with who is backing them, it's part of how we do things. So.
Thank you. So the next question, we'll start with Tom Hummer. And again, it's a campaign contribution question. Would you recuse yourself from voting on an item involving individual donor, business, or union that contributed to your campaign?
I believe that's what I would do, yeah. I would recuse myself from that.
Colson Teal.
Depending on the situation, yes, I would also recuse myself. I know some of my donors, like I can't exactly recuse myself from voting for things that my constituents wants because, well, they've given me donations. But if a business were to give me a donation or interest group were to give me a donation and a project that they're closely tied to were to come up, I would also recuse myself from the vote.
Jeremy Yamaguchi.
Thank you. There are a number of laws and even local policies that require individuals to recuse themselves, but I think it's important that we set that as a minimum standard and not the maximum standard to set ourselves to. Again, transparency, I think, is key, making sure that everyone knows where all of the funding is coming from. But to get back to the question, yes, if there's a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest, I wouldn't hesitate to recuse myself from a vote that would have been impacted from prior contributions. Thank you.
Thank you. Joshua Correa.
Yeah, so I would recuse myself if that was coming from outside of the city, obviously. My supporters are all local within District 1, so I'm not sure I have to worry about that.
Thank you. Ward Smith.
Recusal is not a very common item that takes place, but it does occur. I myself recently have recused myself from a matter where city funding was going towards an organization to support or purchase something as part of that nonprofit organization. And I felt the expenditures of city money was best represented by the interests of my fellow council members, and that being part of that, I should step away from that and not have this quid pro quo type appearance. It's that way too. I think our varying backgrounds create situations for us. I've never sought nor received, asked for, or been given union endorsements or things like that. Why? Because I oftentimes feel that sometimes there's a quid pro quo type feeling of that, depending on what your background is. Our public safety representatives ask somebody that's never been in public safety, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're expecting something from them or want something from them specific. But when you come from that background, you've had your career there, it's a little iffy, I think.
Thank you. Coulson Teal, the next question will start with you. Do you feel that term limits should apply regardless of districts?
Absolutely, I feel like term limits should apply absent of districts. After all, we're representatives of the community, and even though we're representing one district, we're still a voice in the city. I think that trying to hold on to power by jumping from place to place is problematic at best, and enforcements of these term limits should apply. Thank you.
Jeremy Yamaguchi.
Yeah, when it comes to the term limits, I think it should be applied to the entire city council. The districting wasn't a topic of discussion for our founders when the charter was adopted back in the 20s. So I think, you know, the spirit of the law of those who enacted the term limits was to have folks come in and serve their term on the city council and then let the next person come and serve. Not that you can hopscotch around and serve 5 different sets of term limits in 5 different districts.
Thank you. Joshua Correa.
Term limits. Well, Jeremy has, he is the authority on term limits, but he's also a great guy, so I'm glad for his service. As far as term limits, I'm fine with term limits, and I'm glad to see them enacted on the districts.
Ward Smith.
Thank you. I too agree with term limits. I mean, there's night and day difference between federal government, state government, county government, and local government. We all see what it looks like at varying levels. Federal politicians that are there for decades upon decades upon decades. It's probably not the best thing that we've got going for us. I think fresh ideas, new eyes, different approaches, different backgrounds and experiences and expertise, mix it up a little bit and make for a more robust representation of our communities.
Thank you. Tom Hummer.
Yes, I agree on term limits as well. You just open it up for a fresher look at it every, 3 terms, I believe, you know, so not somebody's gonna be there for 50 years, you know what I mean? So it does open for a better movement of city forward in our local government with a term limit.
Thank you. The next question goes to Jeremy Yamaguchi. The question is, what is the most important function of local government?
The most important function of the government is public safety, and that takes many forms. That's not just the police officers responding to your door if you have an emergency, or the fire department coming if your house is on fire. That includes providing safe utilities and infrastructure for you to get to and from work, your kids to get to and from school. That also includes reliable utilities. The city doesn't do the electric or the sewer or the water, but we do have a lot of relationships with those vendors, Edison, the gas company, water company. I think the city council should enact oversight and committees that we've had over the years permanently to have relationships with those utilities to ensure that Placentia as a whole has reliable and safe utilities citywide. The last thing would be the infrastructure on the public works side. In addition to roads, having safe parks, safe sidewalks to get around your community. Those are all the things the residents can't do themselves. The HOAs aren't fixing roads, but the city should be responsible for those.
Thank you. Joshua Correa.
Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. What is the most important function of local government?
The most important function of local government. So like Jeremy had said, there's certain things that residents can't do them for themselves, and the city is the in-between. Working on the Atwood mural, restoring the Atwood mural, that was a starting off point. The Atwood community built 31 homes themselves on grant funding, and they built the park, they commissioned the mural, they did that as a community. And we need to galvanize our community to be doing and reaching after what they want the community to look like. And the city is supposed to support them in achieving those type of goals instead of fighting them.
Thank you. Wordsmith?
Cut and paste what Jeremy said, because people get lost in the fact sometimes that they see the focus and the main point of government is in the public safety arena, police and fire. They're a critical cornerstone to all of that, but the city is comprised of many spokes in a wheel, and the day-to-day usage, you need fire because if you have a fire, you need somebody to deal with it. You need them because of their public safety aspects of what they handle. Same thing with police, but you need the infrastructure, the public works aspects of things. You need that relationship and partnership with your public utility companies, all those things that come to bear to make the overall quality of life for the residents here comfortable, successful, and able to come and go in a safe and reasonable manner.
Thank you. Tom Hummer?
I agree. Public safety and infrastructure are the two most important things for city government to take care of. And, you know, my running in District 1, I know that we've got some issues. We've got a couple gangs. We've got things that we have to take care of, and we need that public safety to help that. We've got the homelessness. You know, we've got the navigation center. We've, as a city, put that together. Those are all parts of public safety and the infrastructure that we need to maintain that. Thank you.
Thank you. Colson Teal?
I think Jeremy and Ward put it beautifully in more detail, so I just want to sum it up with opportunity. The city is supposed to provide an opportunity to its citizens. They should have reliable infrastructure and they should have reliable emergency services. And I want to speak on this last point because our city isn't doing its due diligence. We know with infrastructure, but I think less commonly known is with its emergency services. They're not receiving the support you think they are. We're losing police officers, not because of their pay, because goodness knows no one comes to Placentia for the $1 million check. We're losing them because they don't feel like there's a good environment anymore, that city administration is going after them and they're not supported. There's leaks, equipment issues, there's issues coming directly from the top. Same with our fire. They don't have a retirement plan. There are heroes who help us when we're at our lowest, when we have heart attacks, when we need somebody to be there for us, but we don't provide an environment for them to retire. The people that served us. Our city needs to step up both on infrastructure and most importantly on our emergency services.
Thank you. The next question will start with Joshua Correa. If all administrative directors of the city and managers are 100% against a proposed project, would you override their judgment? Let me repeat that. If all administrative directors and managers of the city are 100% against a proposed project, would you override their judgment?
If they're against it, I honestly can't imagine what they would all be against that I would therefore support. If they were all for something, I've definitely challenged them before. However, I have no qualms with challenging those folks who have a certain perspective. However, I don't. The question is, would I override it if they were against something? I don't see why I would.
Okay. Wordsmith, the question to you, and I'll repeat it.
Thank you.
If all administrative directors and managers of the city are 100% against a proposed project, would you override their judgment?
I think in two different ways. Seldom is the occasion that we as council members would hear that all of the directors or management staff is against a project. Certainly, if we were cognizant of that or aware of that, we would certainly be asking hard questions to say, what is the opposition and how is it that comes to be? Now, most recently, we did have a project that was brought before us that staff as well as a commission had not supported and not wanted to put forth. And it came before council and through the vote, It was passed, and it was a zoning issue and a change of a project. 2 of us voted no, 3 voted yes, and the project moved forward. But in that case, we saw that staff took a very strong position on it and didn't support it, and it ended up with a split vote. But as far as directors and stuff, I don't know that we always hear that they're all in unison.
Thank you. Tom Hummer, the question to you. If all administrative directors and managers of the city are 100% against a proposed project, would you override their judgment?
Well, like Ward said, I don't think that as a city council member, we're going to have that knowledge readily available every time there's a decision to be made. But if there were an opportunity where that would arise, then maybe possibly shelving that and maybe that decision and maybe putting it, you know, where we can have a deeper conversation with those that are involved.
Thank you. Colson Teal, if all administrative directors and managers of the city are 100% against a proposed project, would you override their judgment?
It depends on the situation, but the short answer is yes. Like Jeremy, I'm an Eagle Scout, so I've had plenty of leadership experience, and just because a lot of leaders say something is good does not mean it's always good. Everyone can make mistakes. Everyone can have that moment where the group agrees, but the group is wrong. If it is a scenario where the group is wrong, and I truly, firmly believe that, and believe that the people of Placentia will not be dutifully served by that proposal, then no matter what it takes, I will stand against it. Because I'm here to serve the people, not to bow to the will of fellow leaders. Sometimes a leader has to take a stand, and I would be willing to do that. Thank you.
Okay. Jeremy Yamaguchi, if all administrative directors and members are 100% against a proposed project, would you override their judgment?
Thank you. Another fun one to answer in 60 seconds. As mentioned before, what are their reasons? Are they politically driven? Are they personally driven? Do they have a personal vendetta with the project, the owner, the investor, the people proposing it? And for those, just a reminder, staff's role is not to set policy. Their role is to implement the policy. And inside City Hall, everyone except for the council and the city attorney work for one person, and that's the city administrator. And if you have a job and you need to keep your job in order to feed your family and keep your kids clothed and going to school, if your boss tells you to do something, I think you're gonna do it. So all the staff that work at City Hall, if they're told you need to oppose this project and fight it all the way to the bank, and they're afraid for their jobs, they're probably gonna listen to their boss. And that's perspective a lot of people don't think of. They may think of the charades and the 2 a.m. meetings that we go to because council majority doesn't like it, but long story short, yes.
Thank you.
I would have the courage to vote against.
Thank you. The next question will start with Ward Smith. It's about a community center. Many surrounding cities have community centers that allow the recreation department to offer many great classes and programs. Would you support Placentia creating a community center?
Absolutely, 100%. Anybody in this community that's trying to reach out and hold some kind of function or some type of event in a surrounding jurisdiction is put on a waiting list most of the time. And they're not given due deference because they're not a member of that community. Community centers are built to serve the members of their respective communities. And a community center today serves a multi-use purpose. It's not just about hosting, you know, dinners or events or weddings or receptions and stuff like that. Most of them have other components, whether it's for young people, whether it's for students, whether it's for seniors. Seniors is the fastest growing, fastest changing dynamic of resident in our community. We can't serve them right now. We've got a building built in the early 1900s at the corner of Center and Melrose that acts as a senior center. We've got the Bax building and a couple other minor senior center or community centers that aren't set to do that. I would 100% support a community center, senior center here in the city.
Tom Hummer, same question. Many surrounding cities have community centers. This allows the recreation department to offer many great classes and programs. Would you support a community center in Placentia?
Absolutely. Just like Ward said, I think it was a library at one time as the current senior center here in our town. And I think if we were to have the opportunity to build a beautiful center that would be able to, help many different groups, whether it be young people, senior citizens, maybe even bring in some revenue if, people come to a nice spot and want to have a wedding or something. So I would definitely support that.
Colson Teal. Many of the surrounding cities have community centers. This allows the recreation department to offer many great classes and programs. Would you support a community center in Placentia?
Short answer, yes, but to address this question, I think I know what is being talked about. There's a proposed senior community center that would go into my district in part of Tri-City Park, and the proposal right now in the current situation is bad. It is not sustainable. First, let's deal with mismanagement. We have another major project in the city that could have been an $8 million project, but is vastly blown past that. It's the public safety building. I think they're on their third time tearing up and redoing the pavement from the last time I heard. It's costing us extra millions. Now that project pales in comparison with cost to the senior community center. And this is what I mean about two stones for one bird. There's already costly projects around that area that could serve seniors as a community center. The Tynes Gym has a rotting roof and as a facility is fairly old. It already has a foundation. It's already by pickleball courts. It has better parking that wouldn't chew up more green space in Tri-City Park. That could be turned into a senior community center. It is much more accessible for seniors, already buy activities they like, and would cost much less. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy Yamaguchi.
Thank you very much. The city has a number of community centers already. They don't compare to some of our neighboring centers, but I think it'd be more prudent for us to invest and improve the buildings we already have to make them more usable and more attractive to the residents and the neighbors than building one from scratch. That being said, we've studied and I wholeheartedly believe there is a need in our community for providing services for seniors, for the next generation in our city. To invest in the city with the proposed senior center, community center, I would like to see a significant infusion of investment from grants. The city just cannot afford to front the cost for building that. The grants is just the first phase. Having a business plan that's entrepreneurial and sustainable for the business operations of that community center, it would be the next step. So, being financially sustainable and responsible with the business model, but also limiting the impact on our neighbors. If we're going to put this on the border with another city, we need to make sure that the plan is airtight.
Thank you. Joshua Correa.
I have to agree with Jeremy concerning fiscal sustainability first, but community centers, I love community centers. My wife works at Orange Community Center teaching art. I've advocated in Yorba Linda for Yorba Linda to create an arts center with Yorba Linda Arts Alliance. Thankfully, we've seen that come to fruition, but with that, any community center that we build here, we can't just build and let a consultant erect it and create something that is not going to be usable and sustainable for our seniors and for the people who are actually going to be using it. So yes, and I've been working on, I would love anyone who's interested in working on that, come to the Placentia Collaborative, and we'll be working on that together for a long time to come.
Thank you. The next question to Tom Hummer. Why are you the best candidate for council? Please highlight public policy experience.
Well, I'm a citizen of this city. I've seen it grow. I've seen things are positive. Like I said before, I did go through the Citizens Academy, and that is a very big eye-opener and a great lesson learned, and to understand how the city works. I can do this job. I can represent District 1, and that's where I'm at.
Thank you. Colson Teal. Why are you the best candidate for council? Please highlight public policy experience.
Well, when I think it comes down to public policy experience, as you all can tell, I'm pretty young, so I haven't had much of a robust career behind me. However, I do have a couple things that make me highly qualified to be your representative for District 5. Like Jeremy, I was an Eagle Scout. I have more than a decade of leadership experience within that organization. I carried this over to any organization I've been in, whereas in band at my high school, I was also a leader, a drum major. You might have seen me walking in the Heritage Parade in a bright white uniform. Furthermore, I've worked in DC around people who are heavily involved in public policy. I have many mentors who've been in the field for decades who are giving me fantastic advice and guidance. Furthermore, the people in this community believe in me. They see direction. They see care. Furthermore, at Cal State Fullerton, I'm a political science student where I study how to more effectively manage cities, reach audiences, talk to people. It's that talking to people, that care, and that direction that really distinguish me as a candidate in this race and make me the best choice. Thank you.
Jeremy Yamaguchi, why are you the best candidate? Highlight your public policy experience.
Thank you very much. I think having grown up in the community is one of the best things a council member can bring to the table. Understanding not only the institutional knowledge as a policymaker and a council member, but seeing the community grow, the history of where we've come, learning from our mistakes from our predecessors is something that each one of us brings to the table from our own backgrounds, but those of us that are really homegrown really have the advantage there. As a policymaker, I've served on the council. I have, I think, the most tenure at this point of the current council members, but in those years, I think I've proven myself to be a bold innovator. Not only comes with the votes of opposition, bringing new ideas to the table that are kind of novel and sometimes radical, like installing fiber in the entire city for internet. But again, going back to leadership experiences, as an Eagle Scout, leading board meetings when I was 12 years old, I've run my own small business since I was 18 years old. Those are all just a few things that make me a strong candidate for city council.
Thank you. Joshua Correa.
So I believe I'm well qualified for District 1 to serve the constituents in my district. I served as vice chair for the Citizen Fiscal Task Force. I was on several other groups and committees that just do good around the city. However, as far as policy goes, I think there's a lot of room for our city council to be working on policy that's not just good for Placentia, but really is good for the state. Because so often we're focused on our problems and we're not thinking larger, like our water, for example. We have an evergreen contract with Golden State Water that won't allow us to renegotiate. And so we see these prices increase year after year. Now, we should be addressing that from a state level.
Thank you. Ward Smith.
Like Jeremy, like Colson, apparently like Tom, I'm a byproduct of this community. I've been here since I was a young boy when my folks moved here from Los Angeles. I'm a byproduct of the school district, elementary, middle, high school, local college, and university. But most of all, I've benefited from, and why I'm best for District 5 is I bring experience to the table. I've been a policy maker. I've been a policy enforcer. I'm an outside-the-box thinker. I think that's the critical component and the thing I enjoy amongst our council members that we have. We can agree to disagree, but we work outside the box on a lot of different things. My professional career served in great ways of leadership and doing things, whether it was operational, administrative, investigative, whatever, leading large numbers of people on different things. I think we are tasked with being creative and that we accept those challenges and we do so willingly and good. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will start with Colson Teal. If you found out that a member of City Hall committed a crime by misappropriating taxpayer funds, how would you deal with the issue?
They're gone, that's a crime, and that is an affront to the citizens of Placentia. If you are entrusted with representing us and with working for us, and you go behind us and stab us in the back, you're gonna get the full pushback and the full fury of the people of Placentia. If that's a case, I would be horrified to find out, and if that ever happened while I was elected, they'd be gone the next opportunity I have. Thank you.
Jeremy Yamaguchi.
Unfortunately, I've had to respond to this actual incident. A number of years, we had a member of our finance team embezzling money, and I happened to be mayor at the time. And we did unleash the full Monty of our resources, not only from the city, from a law enforcement side, we brought in the state, we brought in the county, we brought in the feds. And we were able to recover all of the money back. And last I've heard, the individual is still behind bars serving time for his crimes. So if that were to happen again, God forbid, I wouldn't hesitate a moment to do the exact same thing we did before. Even if that person is on council, if that person is in management or in a leadership role.
Thank you. Joshua Correa?
So under that circumstance, it was the federal, the FBI who found that irregularity. I believe it's the council's job to be looking in to where those irregularities can be. We shouldn't be relying on outsiders looking at our books. We need to understand our books and see if there is too much money going in certain directions. So that's something that we need to be proactive in.
Thank you. Ward Smith?
As already stated by the other members represented up here tonight, is punishment and action needs to be swift, quick, and forceful. When we speak earlier of transparency, accountability, representation of our community and stuff, they entrust us to keep and be the watchman at the door for those types of things. When the things are brought to our attention, you can't sit back and think on it or wonder what you're going to do with it. You jump in, you take advantage of all of your full resources that you can bring to bear on it.
Thank you. Tom Hummer?
I agree with that 100%, that incident like that should be, there should be red flags, there should be more eyes on things, and, but, they did what they had to do, and it was perfectly the right thing to do at that time, so I would do the same thing.
Thank you. The next question will start with Jeremy Yamaguchi. Do you support the OCFA union? Do you support the Placentia Fire and Life Department union?
The union represents individuals that are putting their life on the line for our public safety in those individual jurisdictions. So yes, I 100% support the men and women that are putting their life on the line. When it comes to their individual policies, their planks and their platforms, I can say I'm not 100% familiar with all of their positions and all of their political desires. So we'd have to come to a case-by-case basis. But when it comes to supporting public safety and the membership of those organizations, of course, I stand behind our public safety.
Joshua Correa?
I agree. I support our first responders. However, as far as policy goes, I'm not abreast to their concerns, and I'm not at a point where I'm going to endorse anyone at this moment.
Ward Smith?
As stated, I support our public safety personnel, our first responders, those in the fire service. Unions exist to represent their body of employees, to seek benefits, wages, working conditions for their folks, and rightfully so. I myself was a member for the better part of my entire career, with the exception of the last few years as a department head or administrator of a police department, and sat on the boards and actually was president of associations, both at the officer level and at the police management before the combining of the two. When you ask the question relative to our unions and OCFA's unions, OCFA union exists for that same reason. OCFA union was representative of things that when they were a service provider to us. Do I believe in the unions? I believe in unions and what they stand for and what they do. I don't always agree with their platforms on things, but I do support the fact that they are first responders and public safety personnel.
Thank you. Thomas Hummer?
Like everyone on the panel here, I do support our public safety, police and fire departments. Unions, I'm fully about a union. I'm a teacher, so I know what that's all about. And it is primarily for pay and that sort of thing. But I don't know what their background is on as far as what their platforms are, and I can't really speak to that, but I do support our police and fire.
Colson Teal.
Would you mind repeating the question, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Do you support OCFA Union? Do you support Placentia Fire and Life Department Union?
To start off broadly, I support first responders. If their union does good by them, then I support the OCFA union. I know they've reached out to me, and they know that I support our boys in fire. And I'm proud to say that I also support Placentia's. I'm endorsed by the firefighters here, the Fire Officers Association. I'm also endorsed by the Placentia Police and Fire Management Association, as well as our police union. I stand with them. I stand with their issues, and I want to work to make sure that they feel supported so that they can keep serving us to the best of their ability. They don't receive that support right now. It is not a good place for them. When I went on ride-alongs with both organizations, actually all three organizations, I was able to see firsthand some of the things they're going through. And as a member of the public, before I'm even in office, it's not right. We need to fix it, and we need to do good by them so that they can continue to do amazing by us. Thank you.
Thank you. The last question for part 2, question submitted by the audience, will go to Joshua Correa, and then we'll start our closing arguments. Placentia Fire and Life Safety Department has cut their emergency response times by a great deal. Do you consider this a result of the unique business model, and do you approve of that model?
Please repeat the question.
Sure. Placentia Fire and Life Safety Department has cut their emergency response times by a great deal. Do you consider this a result of their unique business model, and do you approve of that model?
Okay, so kind of reading between the lines there, I support having our own fire department. I'm glad that we still have our current police department, and I don't want to see those models changed.
Ward Smith.
Repeat the question.
Sure. Placentia Fire and Life Safety Department has cut their emergency response times by a great deal. Do you consider this a result of their unique business model, and do you approve of that model?
Thank you. I'm looking at a document here that says their response times, both on the fire and EMS sides, are probably second to none in the county of Orange. The document here says that OCFA was providing response times on fire and EMS calls at roughly 9 minutes and 30 seconds a call. We are sitting today at a fire response at about 6 minutes and at an EMS response at 4 minutes and 45 seconds, give or take. Those are impressive numbers, and it's because of the hard work that these folks do. The model is unique, and I think it's always worth considering review, how our staffing's deployed and what takes place. But right now, this model's working, and it's working for a multitude of reasons because we are branching out and using different methods to get emergency services to those that need it most, need it first, and such like that. Getting a rig there isn't as quick as getting an emergency ambulance or paramedic there.
Tom Hummer.
I do 100% agree with the city's decision to go with a fire department for Placentia City. I kind of touched on it earlier. About a year ago, maybe, my dad had a heart attack. If it had been his numbers with OC Fire, he wouldn't have been able to be with us for almost another year. So I applaud our fire department and our safety people that do respond much quicker. So I am in support of that.
Thank you. Colson Teal.
Could you repeat the
Absolutely.
question again? Thank you.
Placentia Fire and Life Safety Department has cut their emergency response times by a great deal. Do you consider this a result of the unique business model, and do you approve of that model?
Do I consider success of the business model? No, I'm not going to give credit to the administrators. Where I give credit for these response time cuts is our amazing firefighters. The business model that they're put in has a myriad of ways it can improve. They're improving it out of their sheer dedication to serve us, to make sure they get there in time. I can speak to some of these issues that I witnessed firsthand when I was on my ride-along with the fire department. Currently, we have to have 2 trucks go out to any call. One of those trucks follows behind. Depending on the code for the call, they will actually have to pull over and wait if it gets cut off by cars or if it gets cut off by lights. This causes delay issues. They don't want to do that. They want to get there faster, but the business model that's been put from the top down is hampering them. Furthermore, our system for dispatch is incompatible with other areas who use something called Metrolink. This can cause delays where they have to pick up the phone constantly, put it down, up, down, causing 8 to 12-minute delays on mutual aid.
Thank you. Jeremy Yamaguchi?
I'll echo that sentiment. I feel very safe calling 911 for a medical emergency in my home if I'm in office. Just last week, I went on a ride-along. Just last week, we had to call paramedics into City Hall. That being said, I don't support the current model. Not necessarily because it's broken, but because there are a lot of things that aren't complete, even though we're 4 years in. We need auto mutual aid. Right now, we have to have our dispatchers pick up a telephone, like an analog telephone from the 1800s, to call our neighbors in Brea or neighboring OCFA to ask for help before they can send someone. Other cities, it's a push of a button from a computer, it's completely automated. We need CAD to CAD so we know where other apparatus is around us, and other cities know where we are so we can respond. Outside of that, I still believe in a regional model. I think it worked great. I think moving forward, we could even evaluate a North Orange County Public Safety JPA, a North Orange County Police Force, North Orange County Fire Force, with our neighboring cities. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Part 3, closing statements. Ward Smith.
Thank you very much. I've welcomed this opportunity and been appreciative of all the information and the questions that have been asked tonight. I commit to continued ongoing focus on maintaining our fiscal sustainability or growing that to make sure that we are sustainable and can move forward in a number of different areas, projects, programs, and safety arenas. Properly funding and supporting our critical and routine services, our first responders, public works, development, and community and human services are vitally important to the welfare of this community and properly serving it. A continued partnership with community organizations. The fact of the matter is we accomplish more together than we do as individuals. I work for you, and I respect you, and I thank you for the opportunity to do so, and I ask for your vote moving forward in the future.
Thank you. Tom Hummer, your closing statement.
I am running for District 1 representative for the City Council. I will advocate for strong public safety and maintaining those relationships with the fire and police departments. I will help and support small businesses and maintain that downtown, Old Town area, keep it growing, move over to possibly the Northgate area too as well. Those are things that I would look for and work together with the groups within our city district, and I look forward to serving District 1, so please vote for me. Tom Hummer.
Thank you. Colson Teal, your closing statement.
I think it's become clear through the questioning tonight that there are a lot of issues that are not going addressed in Placentia. I don't want to paint this as a purely bleak issue. It's like a tunnel. Things are dark right now. If we don't make change, we're going to stay in the darkness and we're not going to emerge better than we are now. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel that comes with new leadership, that comes with new direction and new ideas, that comes with somebody who will sit down, talk with everyone, listen, and be willing to stand up for what's right. I've been doing this. I've seen the issues. I continue to listen, and I continue to see what needs changed. They say we have fiscal responsibility. We're in a deficit spending our revenues. They say everything's good with first responders. I know from them it is not. We need new direction. And I'm proud to say Placentia Fire, Placentia Police and Fire Management Association, and the Placentia Police, as well as my neighbors, agree. Vote Colson Teal for District 5 this November if we want to keep Placentia the city we love. Thank you.
Jeremy Yamaguchi, your closing statement.
Thank you very much. Once again, my name is Jeremy Yamaguchi. I'd be honored to have your vote for my reelection to Placentia City Council. When I was first elected, the very next night, I think we had our tamale festival after I was sworn in, and someone came out to me and said, hey, don't forget where you come from. And it's been a number of years I've been serving, but that has never left my mind when I come to City Hall. I came from right where you're sitting. I came from Brookhaven, Tuffrey, El Dorado, you name it. I've been the boots on the ground, and I'm happy to go out and continue to do that. You know, I believe in protecting our past while constantly looking to embrace innovation for the future. So once again, my name is Jeremy Yamaguchi. I'd be honored to have your vote for my reelection to Placentia City Council, District 3.
Thank you. Joshua Correa, your closing statement.
My name is Joshua Correa, and I've been serving since the 90s. I've been serving this community. I've been passionately putting my life and advocating for those in my community. And I'm not just asking for District 1 to participate. I'm asking for all of Placentia to come together. We're reestablishing the Placentia Collaborative, and we need your involvement to make Placentia a better community. I care about our heritage, our history, and I care about the unity of this city. And I pray that this political season will not be divisive, but I pray that it will bring us together.
Thank you. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of North Orange County, I want to thank the candidates for participating, for the audience for coming out, and if we could give them a round of applause. I also want to thank your incredible city staff who've taken care of us, Bob McKinnell, Travis, our tech, and everyone from the city who made this run smoothly. Please note that tonight's event will be on the city website and available on the YouTube channel. Thanks also to our timekeepers, our question sorters, our greeters, everyone who made this possible before. Please check out vote411.org, the League of Women Voters, information about candidates who are on your ballot who might not be having a candidate forum. You can also find information about the incredibly complicated 10 statewide ballot propositions at the California League of Women Voters. They have an easy voter guide. Direct people to that for nice summaries about the pros and cons in a nonpartisan, non-biased way. And then remember to return your ballot by November 5th through the mail, through drop boxes, or through your vote centers that you can find at ocvote.org. Thank you all.